This is Neo Ratna Rockdoc here on WDST Radio Woodstock with another episode of This Week in Rock, stories from the soundtrack of our lives. This past week, in October of 1975, Pink Floyd started a run at #1 with their album, Wish You Were Here. So today, I thought I'd tell you a few things about the album that you might not know. And as usual, a little background first. How do you follow up an enormously successful album like Dark Side of the Moon? That's the problem Pink Floyd faced when they returned to the studio in 1975. Dark Side of the Moon was the first time the band devoted an entire album to a theme. And as Roger Waters describes, his ideas for the next album began the same way.
Used to be like a photo album. It was just a collection of songs. They didn't have to have any connection one with another. That's why they were called albums, because they were just like books of photographs, really. Whereas what we had started to work on, and well, with Dark Side of the Moon, we'd arrived at that thing of, no, it's not an album, although we still call them albums. It's a coherent, cohesive piece of work with a beginning and a middle and an end, and it's more like a play or a film than it is like what we used to call albums. Frank Chequersfield, or whatever. And there's a bunch of songs, different songs, and they have nothing to do one with the other. No, these songs do have to do one with the other. And in the case of Wish You Were Here, they're all about absence in one way or another. So that's the central theme, which is why the title works well. Everything about it is coherent.
The album, Wish You Were Here, begins with the song Shine On You Crazy Diamond, a tribute to Syd Barrett, whose mental breakdown had forced him to leave the group 7 years earlier. Barrett is fondly recalled with lines such as, "Remember when you were young, you shone like the sun, and you reached for the secret too soon, you cried for the moon." Wish You Were Here is also a critique of the music business. Shine On crosses seamlessly into Welcome to the Machine, a song that begins with an opening door, described by Waters as a symbol of musical discovery and progress, betrayed by a music industry more interested in greed and success. The tune ends with a party, the latter epitomizing the lack of contact and real feelings between people. Similarly, Have a Cigar scorns record industry fat cats, with the lyrics repeating a stream of cliches heard by rising newcomers in the industry, and including the question, "By the way, which one's Pink?" asked of the band on at least one occasion. But perhaps the most interesting song on the album is the title tune, Wish You Were Here. The song is about the detached feeling most people go through life with, and is a commentary on how people cope with the world by withdrawing physically, mentally, or emotionally. And although in many ways the song was inspired by Syd Barrett and his mental breakdown, Waters describes his lyrics as being directed at himself, with the goal of being present in one's own life and freeing oneself in order to truly experience life. David Gilmour created the music, and as he describes, the song started as an acoustic guitar riff.
I bought a 12-string guitar off a guy I know. I think I'd recently bought it off him, and I was strumming it in the control room of number 3 at Abbey Road, and that just sort of started coming out, that riff. And a bit like the beginning of Shine On with those 4 notes. I started mildly obsessing with this riff that was slowly developing, and again, people's ears, Roger's ears, pricked up, and he said, what's that? Where's that come from? And I had a terrible habit of playing bits of songs by other people that were good, and Roger would say, "Yeah, that's great, let's use that." And I said, "Can't, this belongs to someone else." So he got a little nervous about asking sometimes, and I think he was a bit nervous about asking in case that came from something else by someone else.
Is it fair to say that your guitar skills went up another notch?
Not on the recording of the beginning of Wish You Were Here. Every time I listen to the actual original recording, I think, God, I should have really done that a little bit better. But I mean, the idea was that it was like a guitar playing on the radio and someone in their room at home, in their bedroom or something, listening to it and joining in. So the other guitar was kind of supposed to be a kid at home joining in with the guitar he's listening to on the radio. And therefore it wasn't supposed to be too slick. And it wasn't.
Both David and Roger have praised the song Wish You Were Here, with Waters noting that the collaboration between himself and Gilmour was really good. And Gilmour has stated that because of its resonance and the emotional weight it carries, it's one of our best songs. Okay, let's listen. With music by David Gilmour and lyrics by Roger Waters. Pink Floyd and Wish You Were Here.